Welcome, everyone. Today is October 21st, and today's DIR Shared Technology Services Outreach and Growth webinar topic will be on Technology Solution Services, the TSS overview. Now, there's a lot to look at with TSS. We're just going to capture some of the overview. If you are an existing customer with internal login credentials, I ask that maybe you refer to yesterday's STS Weekly Update. It'll be posted on the portal as soon as the WebEx releases that recording. There's a little more detail there that we had time to go through yesterday. Today, we're looking at more of an introductory overview, especially for new customers who are looking for technical solutions and assistance with their application development and application maintenance. With today's agenda, I'm pleased to introduce Kendra Allen, who will be talking about Deloitte overall. And then Vinky will be the lead presenter here on the Technology Solution Services. I'll help out summarizing some of the external portal, and then Carrie's going to help us wrap it up there with our email subscriptions. So thank you for your time and attention, and I hope you didn't have any problems getting into today's webinar. But I would like to introduce you to our first speaker, Kendra Allen from Deloitte.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kendra Allen. I'm Deloitte's Client Relationship Executive for our State of Texas account. Carrie, you can go ahead and go to the next slide. I just wanted to give just a brief overview about Deloitte. For those of you who are not aware of us and our work in the state, we do have the privilege of holding the TSS contract, and Vinky and his team will take you through the details of that contract in just a minute. But I did want to just start with a little bit of a brief overview about Deloitte and our presence here in Texas. So you can see that there's a number of different fun facts on the slide. We started our Austin office in 1976. I'll say that's way before I joined, but that's over 40 years ago. I've actually been with the firm. I'm rounding out 24 years. That'll be next June. So we've served over 25 agencies. I'd say that's probably closer to 30 now, along with many cities and counties in the state, as well as institutions of higher education. We have 11 office locations across the state, so a lot of different areas in which to. And we have nearly 5,000 professionals that live and work here in Texas. We're currently doing a number of projects for state agencies, for cities and counties, and higher ed here in the state. A couple of things I did want to highlight. We are currently doing quite a bit of work in the digital space, and that includes things around mobile applications and giving constituents an Amazon-like experience as they're out looking at websites and mobile applications. You may also know that we run the Texas.gov program here in the state. So you may also know that that's split up between application development and payment. And so we run the application development side, and that's also in the STS program with DIR. And we also do a number of projects around digital for website redesigns, and we just helped an agency go live with their new website as well. So proud of our work, our current work in digital and helping constituents and Texas state agencies and other clients give constituents an Amazon-like experience. In addition, the hot topic of the day is typically cloud, and we're doing a lot of that kind of work in the state as well. So we work with the major cloud providers and the ones that are also in the STS program with DIR as well, and have a lot of familiarity with that. Through the TSS program, we also do work around cloud assessments, and I won't steal any of my colleagues' thunder around the work that we do in that area, so that'll be more on the TSS offering side. But we do a number of projects in the state with regard to cloud and cloud assessments. And then finally, I did want to talk just a little bit about the other big word in the state right now, and that is A for Agile. And we are doing a number of projects using Agile development. My colleagues will also tell you that we do application development and waterfall as well. But Agile is where a lot of agencies and DIR customers are moving with their application development. We've even helped state agencies move from a waterfall process to an Agile process with some of their largest applications that they maintain for the state. And so that is also a very hot topic for us, and we're happy to coach DIR customers with regard to Agile and Agile development, as well as application development in that space. So, and then last, I'd be really remiss not to talk about the pandemic and about COVID. And Deloitte is doing quite a bit of work with the state, and I'm really proud of the efforts we've done around contact tracing, around disease surveillance, and some other things in the state where we've been able to give back and to contribute to some of the improvements that are being made around immunization and disease surveillance, et cetera, as well as unemployment insurance and others. And so I know we're all facing really a challenging time, and we understand the challenge that agencies are going through, and hope that technology has been a bit of help with regard to continuing to do government business. So you'll see at the bottom of this slide that just some major towers, if you will, of work that we do in the state. So sort of major buckets around strategy, solutioning, application development, and application maintenance. My contact information will be at the end of this presentation. So if you have questions about this or other things that Deloitte is doing or is offering in the state, I'd be happy to answer those questions and to talk to you. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over. Carrie, you can advance the slide, and I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Vinky Mehta, who's going to take you through the meat of this presentation with his team to talk more about what we do in technology solution services. So Vinky, are you there?
Hey, Kendra, let me interject here. I do want to mention that Texas.gov is a major part of Shared Technology Services, and Texas.gov will be presented in its own webinar probably in February in combination with the Payment Services NIC, but Deloitte will also be there to present Texas.gov application. So if you do want to see some of that information in advance, you can contact Kendra, or you can look at on the external portal and check out the PDF that was presented, or at least published there from previous webinar. The other part, before Vinky begins, I just want to introduce the Technology Solution Services. This is a new part of Data Center Services and handles all across the board, not just private cloud, public cloud, managed apps, those types of things to solution your business needs. And Vinky, with that, please continue. Please begin.
Neil, thank you for the plug. Really appreciate it. So go ahead, Vinky. You're a great spokesperson.
Thank you, Neil. Thanks, Kendra. Good afternoon. My name is Vinky Mehta. I am a managing director with Deloitte, and I'm a technologist. I have the CTO role on the TSS, Technology Solution Services engagement. And it's my job to deliver technology solution services from Deloitte's perspective. So moving on to the next slide, I just wanted to give you, there are not a lot of slides here actually in this deck. It's because this is supposed to be a high-level view, and I don't know, Neil, if folks are allowed to ask questions through the chat, but if they are, I would welcome you to post your questions in the chat, and we'll try to get to that. The goal of today's talk is to get you familiar with what TSS is and what the DCS program is.
Hey, Vinky, sorry, just to let you know, you're right. Customers can ask questions, potential customers. If you have any, the chat is available there for you. You also have the option to use the raise your hand icon that would let us know that you'd like to unmute yourself and ask Vinky or his team a question directly. So I'm Carrie. I'll be monitoring that chat, so just let us know if you do have any questions for the team. Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks, Carrie. Yeah, that's great. So the purpose of TSS is to help sort of enhance the value of data center services that are delivered. So in some sense, TSS spans across the breadth of data center services, and we work with all the other what are called as service component providers. Together, we deliver data center services, but TSS kind of spans across them. TSS, in some sense, is the front end to you, the customer, for consuming data center services. And so, in some sense, you get to get all the services from strategy type of services to solutioning what you need to actually doing application development. All of those services your first point of contact in some sense would be TSS. So let me describe at what are the type of services first, what TSS provides, and what is it that we are trying to achieve through TSS, and why TSS was brought in, as Neil said, as a new program as part of DCS. So the way, as you know, DCS program is not new. It has been around for some time. It has continued to evolve. And the focus for DCS program has been primarily to provide infrastructure services, and it does that really well. And what was seen over time was that the customers who want to consume data center services want to know exactly what is the right service for them to use that is available through DCS. And for that, you always want to use data center services in the context of a business need, in the context of an IT application that you want to host in the data center services. So there is an application and business perspective to consuming every data center service. So with TSS, this was one of the things that we bring to the table, that application, business perspective to consuming data center services. Essentially help translate your need into the type of services that are available in DCS so that we can exactly meet your specific need. So it's bridging that gap between your requirement and the data center services that are available. And so these requirements could be at the high level. You are just trying to do your IT planning, technology planning. And TSS can help you do the technology plan with DCS services in perspective. So essentially help you map what are the looking at your long-term plan for what are your business needs, what are your long-term strategic needs, and help you do your IT planning, your technology planning in the context of what is available through data center services. So that's one thing that we provide as part of strategy management services. The other services that we provide is essentially once you have a specific need, then you can actually talk to what are called as customer technical architects. These are architects whose goal is to sort of interface with the customer, and you can have an informal discussion with the customer technical architects to discuss a need. And once you have a good understanding of what you want, then you can actually create a formal, what is called as an idea ticket inside the DCS portal. And you can submit an idea ticket, and then TSS will help you actually get a formal response to that idea ticket within 5 business days. So that's sort of the next stage of what you want from data center services. And then if you like the response and you think, yeah, this makes sense, the high level response in terms of the solution, the cost kind of meets what you need, then you can create what is called as a demand. That's a more formal request where you get a much more specific solution with the technology architecture, the specific timeline, the cost estimates, which is a committed cost estimate for that demand. And then if you like that solution that was proposed for your demand, then essentially once you approve it, a project gets created, and the TSS helps you actually deliver that project. Now, TSS alone is not delivering that project. There are many what are called as service component provider, the public cloud manager, the private cloud provider, the security services provider. There are many other vendors who are helping deliver data center services, and TSS actually helps you sort of get services from all of those as part of this project delivery. So essentially the goal of TSS is to first make it easy for you to consume data center services, because there is a lot that is provided through data center services. Sometimes the DCS portal could be overwhelming, and we can help you navigate through that with the help of MSI to help you actually formulate your request, think through how you want to formulate that request, and help you actually through the whole life cycle of this process of thinking of what you need at the high level to all the way to actually implementing that infrastructure need that you have in the data center services. So that's one part of the services. The second is you may actually have need for building your application. So there is a program which is not a new program called Managed Application Services, and that has been also folded under TSS, which is you can request application development, application maintenance, or even staff augmentation services as part of this Managed Application Services program. So you can see you sort of get this end-to-end services through the DCS program with the help of TSS. So that's really the sort of the goal of TSS. Essentially help make it easy for you to consume these services first. Next, with TSS, what we want to do is we want to bring you the best solution. So we want to bring you modern solution. We want to bring you the technology components, for example, being able to leverage all the technology evolution that is happening in the area of cloud. So we have implemented many different cloud-based solutions for different Texas state agencies through the DCS program. So we can help you actually create a modern technology stack, not just use the modern technology component, but also architect it right so you can get the best out of the cloud solutions. So, and we have built very small to very large solutions for different state agencies. So that's the second piece, to build these high quality modern solutions. The third thing which we want to help with TSS is to actually accelerate the speed at which you can actually consume these services, make that process little less frictionless, make it as smooth as possible. What we have seen, especially in this COVID-19 times, the need for changes to IT is very high because there is excessive demand on certain portions of the IT infrastructure. So we have actually implemented several projects over the last, I would say, the whole of this year, I should say, to meet those the needs of those COVID-19 projects, all the way from needs related to unemployment insurance to needs related to the COVID-19 tests to immunization and the vaccine programs and so on. So helping those projects meet the needs for the state agencies. So essentially and as I was saying, in the COVID-19 times, you have to provide the solutions quickly. So that's the other thing that we are doing as part of TSS, making the whole program much more agile and quick in terms of being able to respond to the customer needs. And then most important, being able to deliver cost-effective solution, leverage what is available, the best, most cost-effective solution, which could be in the private cloud, which could be in the public cloud. It could be from not just one cloud provider, but multiple cloud providers. As you know, under the DCS program, you can get cloud solutions from AWS or Azure or Google. So essentially get the best of breeds. So essentially help you deliver the most cost-effective solution. So that's another objective for TSS. So that's the overall goals and objectives of TSS. What I would like to do now is to invite my colleagues who actually help deliver the strategy solution, the strategy management services, the solutioning services, and then the application services. So first, I would like to invite Senthil Nathan to talk about the solution services. Senthil?
Yeah, I think at this point, I think I might be next on strategy.
Okay, yeah. You want to start from strategy first? Oh, sorry, yeah.
So all around the slides. Go, Clint.
Go ahead, Clint. Yeah, sorry. So first, Clint will go with the strategy solution. That makes more sense. It's much more logical to start with strategy.
Absolutely. Thanks, Venki. And again, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Clint Center. I'm actually one of the customer technical architects, or CTAs, within TSS right now. And as Venki sort of gave an overview earlier on, the main role of the CTAs is to facilitate sort of that end-to-end solutioning for assigned customer agencies. So we typically do work on a more personal level with individual agencies within the DCS program and really try to immerse ourselves in your applications, your environments, your business objectives, anything else that really gives a little more flavor to some of these IT requests that are coming through, and really, again, what's really important to the agency in delivering some of those solutions. Again, I think Venki gave a great overview of TSS as a whole, but to start with the strategy components and really, our capabilities above, the ideas and demands and individual requests. So really strategy and strategy management as a whole, those individual requests for a particular solution or a conversation, it's really about linking that DCS business demand with some of these supporting IT strategies and some of the services that program offers. And really in doing that, we work very closely with DIR and really at the enterprise level within the DCS program and some of our other service providers to identify enhancement initiatives and other ways to really stay very current in terms of the capabilities we're delivering and in terms of some of the solutions or ideas or things we're seeing out there that can really benefit customers and, again, drive that value for the DCS program. A lot of that really does manifest itself through sort of longer-term strategy roadmaps and timelines and objectives to meet, and really things to very actively investigate at a program level. And we also do work on shorter-term sort of technology plans at an individual customer level to really guide that improvement and any assistance with budgeting or how some of these technology initiatives might fit into, again, the very practical sort of business side of things that you all may be facing. Strategy also includes several responsibilities for really, again, like I mentioned on that CTA role, is developing and maintaining an understanding of the customer environment and business practices, and really acting as a technical interface between potential customer agencies and our individual service providers that bring significant expertise in terms of cloud platforms, in terms of, again, broader data center services, anything that might be needed to really drive those solutions. And some of the specific processes and really offerings under strategy on the left side of this slide, under the scope details box, we do have technology planning. And again, like I mentioned, that's really where the road mapping comes into play. So our goal at TSS is, again, at the enterprise level, very actively working with DIR, very actively working with our service providers, and really understanding sort of what the top priorities should be in the context of this program to better serve our customers, and then taking that enterprise strategy and that roadmap and really helping to apply it down at the individual customer tech plan level to see how we tailor fit that to the individual needs of our customers. So that certainly tends to be identifying new opportunities for improvement, new technologies that may be offered, or new services that may be offered, and seeing how that fits into, again, sort of optimizing the value that the program provides and how we can best serve our customers. The second box, or the second offering for refresh and technical currency, again, on the left side of this page, refresh is a very large program, a very large component of the DCS program. And really, it just boils down to how we can very actively work with the number of vendors and different players in this program to keep an eye on really the versioning and the upgrades and any real maintenance of hardware, equipment, and software within the DCS program, and really applying a strategic lens to that in terms of, again, some of the business needs or the budgetary considerations, and also doing some pretty detailed review of the refresh plans that the DCS customers will be producing for their individual, again, their components that are out there in the world today. So the last piece of that is also working to identify if there's a need for specific exceptions to standards that we're setting at an enterprise level. Again, really figuring out how to prioritize the customer's view and the customer's needs first, and how we really navigate the broader capabilities that are available. Moving on to reference architecture, very similar to tech planning. So at an enterprise level, we actively work with DIR and our service providers to proactively identify really some of these sort of best-in-breed solutions that we see, whether we work through a sort of a proof of concept based on a request that we get in, or we identify something in a technology plan that we want to investigate. It really is about building sort of a stable of solutions or blueprints that we can use as a starting point for some requests that may come our way. Again, the main purpose of that is to act as an accelerator to really give a good conversation and a good starting point for requests that a customer may bring to us that, it can be very defined, or it can be very early on in terms of wanting to migrate to the cloud or wanting to do cost comparisons across different platforms or vendors. So we definitely work with DIR and our service providers to, again, build out that inventory of somewhat reusable solutions that, again, I think will really benefit customers. Moving on to cloud assessment, fourth box on the left side. This one really, we do deep dive, really assessment projects with individual customers based on the requests that we get. And the intent in those is really to identify a timeline for doing maybe some workshops, some detailed conversations, reviewing current infrastructure, current plans, goals, objectives, et cetera, and really trying to figure out where the customer wants to go and how we get there. And so that's a very measured assessment to produce a deliverable document that gives actionable steps and really initiatives to get you to where you would like to be in the cloud. Again, that may span Texas private cloud and data center hosting solutions. It may also span some of the public cloud and some of the main platforms that are out there. So we definitely, I believe cloud assessment is a new offering within the DCS program. And it's really there, again, to walk customers through a very detailed conversation that may start with something as simple as, I'd like to migrate application XYZ to the cloud, and I need to know how to have that conversation and how to navigate the next steps. Lastly, modernization services really is, in several ways, putting it all together. So we do offer legacy modernization assessments very similar to cloud assessments. We do current state and target state and figure out a roadmap to modernize applications. And that may be cloud migration, that may be code refactoring, that may be some of the other sort of capabilities that you'll hear about on the forthcoming slides around our solutioning and application work. But again, really that is intended to provide an end-to-end capability to have those detailed conversations up front, really set the strategy again for moving things forward on some of these larger, more complicated requests that may span, many, many systems or many, many months of effort. Moving briefly to the right side of this slide for tools and really some of the processes that support it. But I think underlying all of these individual capabilities, we do have a significant focus on, again, the customer environments and applications and business objectives. And part of that would clearly be, legislative requests or budgeting. And so we do keep that in mind. And I think some of those conversations certainly do lend themselves to how to really optimize costs or find a solution that best fits, what the current budget, what the current need may be. And really, again, aligning technology needs and some of our other tooling sort of requirements to the core needs of our individual customers. And as Venki mentioned, we do have ServiceNow as our main platform to record ideas and demand tickets. I think we will hear about those momentarily when we get into our solutioning and our managed application services pieces. But Venki, I think that's essentially the summary of the strategy components. I'll hand it back to you if you had anything else to cover on this slide before we move forward.
I will jump in real quickly just to remind folks who may have joined after the start of the call that if you have any questions for our Deloitte team, you can put those into the chat. We are monitoring that chat as well as anyone who may raise their hand to let us know that you'd like to unmute yourself and ask the team a question yourself. Thanks.
Thanks, Carrie, and thanks, Clint. I think that was an awesome high-level view of strategy. So next would be Senthil Nathan to talk about the solutioning services.
Thank you, Venki. I'm Senthil Nathan. I am the Solution Services Director on the TSS project. So I will walk us through kind of some of the solution request management kind of details within the program. So, just to kind of bring it together, Venki talked about CTAs, kind of, if you will, interfacing with the customers, working with them, understanding their applications, their business needs, and so on. And, at the end of that discussion, the customers will be ready to, execute a project, if you will. And that's when, they would come about and submit the request, and we'll get into the different ways they could do that and what those options are. But when they do that is when kind of the solutions team kicks in. The CTAs themselves would, gather most of these requirements from the customers. They would also have this broader perspective of where the customer is coming from. So to Venki's point earlier, one of the goals of this program is to, look at the overarching view of what the customer needs, what the customer's current needs are, what are they trying to achieve today. It's also about understanding what their long-term goals are, and so being able to bring that in. So when they make a request for a certain set of servers, if you will, it's not just about those servers. It's about those servers and what they currently need to do to move along, but also what this means for them kind of overall with the rest of their infrastructure and applications combined. So solution management essentially, as this program evolved, is more about, considering the customer's overall needs as opposed to just solutioning that specific request. So that's one of the key components. So anyway, so once that comes through, the CTS will do a first level review, and then the solutions team, which is my team, we would get into more of a deep dive, and sometimes we may have more questions for the customer, try to understand more of the strategy. And once that comes about, we'll get into the solutioning. And when the customers come in to request these solutions, they can do so in at least two major ways. They can come about and say, I just want a quick assessment. We call it ROM. It's also called high-level architecture estimate, if you will. So basically, the customer wants to come in and they just have a plan in mind. And they want to understand, whether this is possible, what would it take to do this plan, what would it cost me, how does it fit in with the rest of everything I've got going, right? So that is kind of a ROM estimate, it's a high-level estimate, and they can submit that. And there are a few key components of a ROM estimate. I'll get into that in a little bit of detail. But basically, this is something the customer would want for a quick turnaround. They just want to know, and then it's offered free of cost by the program. It has a quick turnaround. It only has like a 5 business day SLA. So the goal of TSS is to, at a high level, understand what the customer is trying to do and be able to provide them, this is what it will typically take for you to achieve something of this nature. And it could be any one of those things as to, I want to migrate all of my SOLIDS over to Linux. It could be small, it could be medium, it could be large. Now, because this is kind of a quick turnaround, it does come with a cost range. It would not be obviously an accurate estimate, depending on the number of assumptions that are being made. This range would be a little bit larger. Typically, what is promised is a plus or minus 50% range, and we try to bring that as close as possible, depending on how many input parameters we can get. And so sometimes it's not even possible even for the customer to be able to gather all the data, and we understand that. So we will provide, make the best assumptions for them and be able to tell them, if you want to do this project or program or this approach, this is typically what it would take, and So that gives them an idea. It also helps customers sometimes to do their budgeting for things like LAR assistance and so on and so forth. So that's one way a customer can kind of obtain a solution, kind of high-level solution request, if you will. The next thing the customer could do is to go out and create a demand, which is basically at this point, typically the customers have a good understanding of what they need, and they're actually ready to implement it. And they would go out and say, okay, I am ready to go ahead with this. And again, this could be small, medium, or large. Some of the customers have architects in-house. Some of the customers don't. And TSS program works, obviously, with all of those kind of situations. Work closely with the customer depending on, whatever their level of engagement is. And so customer come in and say, I want to do this. And then we again gather requirements, understand the overall strategy, and get into more specific details of accomplishing that particular objective. And so the end of that demand, a demand then shoots off into, this could be a demand where only one of the service providers is engaged. Let's say the customer is predominantly based on the TPC, which is a private cloud. So, more than likely, although it's not always the case, they may want to expand on that. And so it'll have, one service provider, basically the data center vendor, or it could be they're doing a migration for some of the services from the data center into the cloud, or it could be a combination, in which case it's called a multi-service component provider or a multi-ACP kind of demand. So those are listed on the right-hand side. So it could be a single service component provider, which is basically, just one service provider who's likely to service the demand, or it could be a multi-service component provider where, multiple service providers may have to come in. The customer, for example, wants something of a hybrid solution where, part of the architecture will be on the private cloud and part of the architecture may be on the cloud, on the public cloud. Then it will get into that. So anyway, so it could be any number of things is the kind of the point I was trying to make. It could be something small. It could be large. It could be large on one component provider, or it could be large hybrid across. And TSS will work with them to be able to provide that. The TSS would also engage with the component providers for them to actually solution this. If it's a multi-component provider situation, TSS actually will take a more lead role because this is across component providers. The TSS will be instrumental in creating an overarching solution for what is to be achieved. And this overarching solution will then include components of individual solutions that the individual component providers will then go about providing. TSS will integrate, coordinate, and then bring all of these solutions together into one comprehensive solution. And all of these together would make the demand. And in a situation like that, and we'll get into project management detail really quick, but I'll mention here, in a situation of a complex multi-ACP demand, so TSS will own this demand. It'll also own the project. It'll follow the end-to-end execution of the project, all the way starting with interfacing with ACPs, going all the way to, project initiative, execution, and completion, to verification and handoff to the customer. So all of those would be under the TSS umbrella.
Senthil, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Solutioning is probably the most popular part of when we think about our customer technology architect. If I'll just use an analogy. If I want to build a deck in my backyard, I have so many options. I could use, hammer and nail. I could use nail gun, wood screws. Or maybe I don't want to see any of those nails and screws. I want to do something different with a metal frame. How do I get an architect to provide multiple options so that I can assess the benefits? And naturally, there's going to be costs associated with those changes, but is that something that a customer technical architect can provide and give me options and direction?
typically, when there's multiple avenues and the customer is deciding whether, for example, just to keep it simple, whether they want to go to the cloud or whether they want to go to the private cloud, just to throw an example out there, it could be any number, like you said, Jerry. So it would we would start off with a ROM. And demand is something where a decision has been made to go one route as opposed to the other. And so it's more exact. The cost estimates are more precise. And then, the solution will be very specific to the requirements of the demand. But when the customer is in the phase of, I'm not really sure which direction I want to go. In fact, even before they create the ROM, one of the things the customers can and should do is, interface with the CTAs. And, and actually, even though they interface with the CTA, the solutions team, a lot of times comes in, right at the beginning, especially when, something like you mentioned is to be decided, where we would interface with the customer to understand what their strategy is, what their long-term goals is, as I was talking about previously, to be able to then, figure out their options. And if they want to find out, if they are interested in more than one option, one of the things TSS could do is to create a high-level architecture of automatically estimate for all of those options. So the ROM would be the best tool for the customer to see, what would it cost for me to go one route versus the other, or even a third one if need be, and kind of provide that back to the customer. And at some point in time, that ROM would then become a demand where the customer would have chosen a path to proceed. So does that answer the question, Jerry?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, sure. So with that, let me jump into project management aspect of it. So I will briefly touched upon it. In a complex multi-ACP project, TSS, will do this end-to-end project management is part of that initiative. However, typically for smaller projects, let's say you're just wanting to put 2 servers into the cloud, that's like a low complexity project, if you will. TSS, will not be offering project management services by default. But that is not to say the customer will not get project management services. If the customer feels like this is a medium-paced project, for example, I would rather TSS come in and kind of manage this project for me end-to-end. And so I have a single point of contact, all the way starting from a demand to project close. The customer has the ability to make that request where, TSS can be the project management. And then TSS would do the project management as well. So that covers most of it. I'm just trying to see if there's anything else. Venki, is there anything else you want to add?
Yeah, thanks, Senthil. Thanks for the detailed explanation. Just to add, I think the question Jerry asked, yeah, absolutely. I think helping you navigate through the various options is what we do best, because we have this team of architects who are skilled in different areas. They can help you sort of evaluate those options against the time it will take to build the solution. What's your long-term plan? Is this a mission-critical system that you're building that you will be using for the next 15, 20 years? Then there's a different kind of solution. If this is a side project and you just want to get something done quickly and at the cheapest cost, that's a different kind of solution. So we'll help you work through those different options and create the right solution. So with that, the last speaker on TSS is Vipul Mehta. He leads our managed application services.
Yep. Thanks, Venki. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Vipul Mehta. I'm a TSS ATM director, and I'll be providing a brief overview of managed application services. So you have heard from Clint and Senthil on the strategy management solution services, which are an integral part of TSS scope. But beyond those, as a trusted advisor, TSS also develops, modernizes, and maintains the applications that are hosted in the DCS program. These services are available to us, to all our customers as managed services for application development, maintenance, and even staff org. So it all starts potentially, we have been using this term CTAs. CTAs are very important folks who are part of our team. So our customer technical architects, who are primarily a CTAs and a solution managers, partner with our DCS customer agencies to identify these various technology offerings for application development and align these solutions with the business needs. This is very important for us from the solutioning perspective. One of the key advantages here I just want to highlight here is the solutioning for all these ADM, AMS, and StarFog demands are not chargeable to our customers. Yes, you heard it right. These are zero-cost solutioning demands. Customers are free to reject our proposed solutions, or really they can ask us to rework at any point of time during the life cycle of the solution proposal process. We have our SLA established for solutioning, and we abide by those SLAs for solution proposal as well as solution implementation. As a part of application development and maintenance, TSS develop or enhances these new applications and maintain these applications, basically from the old legacy platforms to the new environments, even if they're hosted locally or through the clouds. The entire focus, as we had mentioned in some of our old slides of application development, is to map latest technology trends and the best practices eventually based on your technical and budgetary needs as such. Now, these needs generally, all these discussions happen in the detailed meetings at a time of solution proposal, which are our joint session with the customer to exactly understand what is the need for modernizing these applications, enhancing the application. What kind of infrastructure changes or middleware changes the customers may need as a part of the scope for enhancing and maintaining applications. These are a little bit detailed dive on the process or a solution proposal, and the whole intention is to provide you exact solutioning cost and fee associated with the scope and effort formed. We also provide StarFog services. TSS has partnered with Loblolly services to fulfill the StarFog needs. This is an important service component for TSS scope, and this is necessary to address the short-term resource needs if any customer is having. There may be some budgetary constraints or headcount limits here, and our StarFog allows our customers to add staff to their needs based on the additional skills that are required to support the initiatives. Moving to the right side of the slide, when it comes to actual development, we heard in the initial that we work on both waterfall and agile frameworks, depending on the type of business needs, scope, and effort. However, our preference is always agile. We have been successfully using agile methodology for our various customers, and we have been adapting this process successfully across all agencies. Agile is very iterative process, and through our business and product owner, the customers have complete visibility on every aspect of the development based on the changing timelines and the scope. Agile is flexible enough to adapt to changing business needs of the customer, and we respond to these changed business needs very quickly. As and when the dedicated sprint team, which is aligned with the solution implementation using Agile, they gain experience with 1 or 2 sprints, the overall velocity increases and the throughput is pretty high with Agile process. We can definitely go through the deep details of Agile process if there are any sessions or meetings required in the near future by any of the customers. ServiceNow is kind of a standard tool. It's kind of a gold template for solution proposal and project management. However, we are flexible to adapt to different tools like ALM, application lifecycle management tools, Jira, Microsoft VSTS. We've been using these tools, and it all depends on customer needs that we need to fulfill. Moving to the testing and application monitoring. Testing and application monitoring are integral part of our development and maintenance for applications. Whether it's a manual testing or automation testing or even performance testing, wherever applicable, we do these testings as a part of our team plans and all. And our teams have got lots of experience in utilizing these automation tools like Selenium, JMeter, or performance testing tools like LoadRunner for testing related work. And we continuously monitor our applications. Monitoring applications is very important to ensure the stability of applications in our maintenance or tracking the performance of these applications. We have experience in utilizing some of the tools to troubleshoot performance and application availability to bottlenecks in the service delivery chains. Some of the potential tools that we use for application monitoring are App Dynamics, Splunk, Dynatrace, etc. So we've been using these tools in our application development maintenance already with some of our customers. That's all actually I have, unless Venki, you want to talk to staff.
Yeah. Vipul, I just wanted to give, I know we're getting close to time, but we do have Mo Goyal on the phone from Loblolly, and just wanted him to say hello and just a little bit about the staff augmentation services that his company provides.
Absolutely. Mo, you want to go ahead?
Hi, I'm Mo Goyal with Loblolly Consulting. Some of you may know us. We've been around DIR, ITSAC staffing for a decade and a half now, and we partnered with Deloitte. We were fortunate enough, and I am the demand manager, if you will, for Staff Aug, TSS Staff Aug, and our company, Loblolly Consulting, fulfills their requests. So it's a very deeply integrated partnership, but it is one contract under Deloitte. And really the takeaway I'd like you to have is that the applicability for TSS Staff Aug is the worker touching a DCS application? And if that's the case, then it's germane and it's definitely worth looking into. But I'm very familiar with all the other ins and outs. Happy to answer any questions and work with you before and after. I think some of you already have weekly or biweekly meetings, and the CTAs, of course, are very, very familiar with this as well. Anyway, I'll keep it brief. That's all I have, and I look forward to speaking to those of you who I haven't already met with.
Thanks, Mo. Venki, do you want to add anything?
No, I think a great job, Mo and Vipul, in explaining the services. Though, yeah, I just wanted to add what Mo said. We can pretty much support any application that you have built on any technology, so long as it works, so long as it is running in the state data center or the public cloud managed by the data center services. We can actually work on it and support it. And with that, I think we are done for now.
You might have you might have one more slide left if you want to just. I think you've heard from some of the CTAs, so maybe you can just close things out by describing kind of that role.
Yeah, I think what I'll say is that I think we talked about it throughout the presentation, but CTA they are central to interfacing with technology support services. They are in some sense your resource in some sense available to consume data center services. So since we are out of time, I won't spend more time. But as soon as you start engaging with TSS, you will get to meet a CTA who will help you. And with that, Sherry, I'm handing it back to you, Neil. I'm not hearing anyone speak. Neil, you may be on mute.
Oh, sorry. I was doing a great job, too. No, I'm kidding. Just if you could keep up with me on the slides, Carrie, I want to make sure we go fast here on this so we can end on time. The external portal has more information on this, and if you do want more information, click on the service offering. For example, technology services is part of data center services here. You'd find a little one page of their PDF. Click on that and say, here's something I have an idea. But as Venki mentioned, please know that any request that needs to be solutioned, that application must be hosted either in the private or public cloud and managed by shared technology services. Okay? Now, while you're looking at that solution, you also need to check out how the contractual information. This will be the global interagency contract or interlocal contract. If you're not an agency, there's the T's and C's, terms and conditions for data center services, and then you get down to that solution terms. And as they said, even with a ROM, there's no charge, but once you approve that ROM, it goes to the solution, and you approve that solution, you have a project, a budget, then you're billable for that solution and the work that results from it. In addition, if you have any ideas of what you want to look at from shared technology services in the future, the next slide shows you our service offerings of the month. Last month was actually a very good one on next-gen data center services. It kind of included the overview of the next generation of DCS. Today we did technology solution services. In the month of November, we actually have two. We'll look at an overview of managed security services, but we're really going to focus our mailings and information on the public cloud from Rackspace, a new service component provider. December, we'll wrap it up with Atos, private cloud, and mainframe services. And then we'll have the final part of 3 parts of security services from AT&T in January. And just another plug, I think Texas.Cub's coming up here in February. So with that, I'll turn it over to Carrie.
Thanks, Neil. So for those of you who joined us today by clicking on a link perhaps on the DIR website, if you made it from there, or someone forwarded this information to you, we do have a way to ensure that you get invited to all of our future webinars. If you access our external portal, which Neil linked to there a moment ago, you can look at the very bottom. You'll see this option to subscribe to our mailing list. We send out our notifications to a very wide population of potential customers, but we also allow for you to subscribe to the mailing list to then follow up and receive the actual calendar invites in Outlook. That is how you would know exactly what we're talking about each month on our service offering of the month and be able to join us here. With that, thanks to all of our presenters today. We will show you here some contact information if you have any questions. Like we said at the start of the call, this webinar will be recorded. It has been recorded. It will be posted on the DIR YouTube channel on a particular shared technology services playlist. Those webinars there have closed captioning and are available to anyone. So we encourage you to check those out if you'd like to learn more about what's happening across your technology services.
Hey, I want to thank Mo Goya from Loblolly, Vipul Mehta, Senthil Nathan, Clint Center, Vinky Mehta, and Kendra Allen from Deloitte, and especially our host with our WebEx, Carrie Davey. Thank you all for your time and attention, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.